If someone shouts "stay covered," don't ask why. Get down. What are some facts that can actually save someone's life? If people stumble for no reason and sound drunk but haven't had alcohol, ask them to smile. If it looks weird / one side is drooping, get them to a hospital ASAP. High chance it is a stroke. Plus people of every age can have a stroke.
Fast. Face. Arms. Speech. Time.
What does time refer to in this context?
Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Arms. Can they raise both arms? Speech. Is their speech slurred? Time. It's only a matter of time to call the ambulance.
In an emergency around any other people, be intentional and specific with people. Do not shout into the void. Someone call for help. Make eye contact with someone. Make sure they know you are talking to them. Tell them what you need. Sir in the blue shirt, call an ambulance. Ma'am with the green jacket, go ask the barista for a clean towel. You with the hockey mask and machete, watch this baby. Studies have shown that the assumption that someone else will do something is ingrained within people, and often they will not help without specifically being talked to.
Call an ambulance, then come back and tell me that you have called an ambulance.
Crawl out of a burning building, breathing as close as possible to the floor as you move. Toxic smoke rises while air remains more breathable nearest the floor.
Dwight frantically saying "stay below the smoke line" while crawling in the fire episode always resonated with me.
If you have to eat crickets or similar insects, chew them. Do not eat them alive. They have spines on their legs which can cling to your throat and are very difficult to remove without a decent amount of force, i.e. you can't shake your throat like you would your hand to remove them. If they block your windpipe, you'll asphyxiate. I used to work at a pet store. I've had to explain this to quite a few people who wanted to do fear factor parties or dares or pranks.
Ew.
If you're stabbed, don't take out the knife. That very knife could mean the difference between life and death. The knife is blocking the blood from leaking out, preventing you from bleeding out.
I blame this act of dumbassery on Hollywood. Every character has to be macho and rip the knife out when they should just get their ass to a hospital. It's actually kind of paradoxical though. I mean, I'd be more impressed with a TV character that gets stabbed in the leg, leaves the knife in there, and continues on mission, even though that's a bad idea too.
If you are truly lost in the woods, get ready to spend the night. Find yourself a little sheltered place and improve it the best you can. If you have the means, get a friendly little fire going. Protect yourself from the elements, and everything is going to look better in the morning. People who stay put get found. People who keep wandering into the night end up freezing to death at the bottom of a ravine with a broken ankle. If you're only a little bit lost, turn around and go back the way you came. This sounds super obvious, but getting lost in the woods is a process. You realize you're off the trail, but you know the car is right over that hill. But when you get to the hilltop, the other side doesn't look familiar, so you start following the creek down to the river you know parked upstream by the river. But you're actually headed up a different fork of the river, and there's nothing up that canyon but a lot of slippery rocks to die on. Whereas if you'd have just turned back around, chances are you'd find the trail in no time and be on your way back to the trailhead. If your vomit looks like coffee grounds, you may have internal bleeding. Head straight to the hospital. Likewise your crap. Unless you've been eating coffee grounds.
Or you've been drinking red wine.
Or you've been eating the vomit of someone who has internal bleeding.
That escalated quickly.
I blame the wine.
Mentioned this in another question before, but it's important. If you hear about an active shooter situation near someone you know, do not call that person to see if they're safe or okay. If that person is in danger, they're likely trying to hide from the shooter. Their phone going off, even just vibrating, can attract the attention of the shooter and give off their location. So do not try to make any attempt to contact them until the situation is completely resolved. I know it's absolutely wrenching, but it's much safer to wait. Edit. As u/karmic_anomaly pointed out, if they were able to call someone, they would. And also, for anyone saying well you should just turn your phone off in an active shooter situation, I really don't understand what kind of atmosphere you think active shooter situations are. You don't really have time for even thinking of things like yes, I'll turn off my phone, so as not to attract this madman's attention, while I locate a suitable locale for both hiding my body and shielding myself from any potential bullets that may come flying my way. No, you're just going to be instinctively running and hiding, for the most part. This should be higher up. I worked at a high school, and during active shooter drills we knew where everyone was from their phones' lights and sounds. So dumb. I can't wrap my head around shooter drills being a real thing. How out of control does a country has to get to end up having to make kids aware of potential quiet kids bringing guns to school? Do not pick up a person that has fainted, instead lift their feet above heart level and keep at it till they wake up to make the blood flow back in their head to deliver oxygen.
Thank you. I fainted once giving blood at work and they propped me up in a chair where I continued being lightheaded. I managed to stammer out that I wanted to lay down, but I was physically pushed back into the chair until I mustered enough energy to half shout move. And then I laid down on the floor and put my knees up, and a few minutes later I was fine. But for about 5 whole minutes I was in limbo, half passed out, sitting up, barely able to talk, with people physically keeping me in the chair for my safety. I explained to everyone how wrong that is and that you can't keep a person who has fainted upright. They mistook me leaning towards the floor to gently get off the chair myself as me fainting again and kept pushing me back up.
If the face is pale, raise the tail. If the face is red, raise the head. If the face is missing, no more kissing.
If you are taken to the hospital and the doctors ask you if you have taken any drugs, don't just think about the illegal stuff, also tell them if you've had small things like Advil or Tylenol. It could save your life.
Frankly, this needs to taught in schools. I've known people who took stuff and didn't tell the doctors. They either went into withdrawal, which prolonged their stay, or the doctors have them stuff which interacted with drugs and they nearly died cause of it.
Also tell them if you've had the illegal stuff. They're not gonna arrest you or judge you. They need to know so they don't give you something that will cause a bad reaction.
Great example is coke users will have high blood pressure due to the coke, but if you give a beta blocker, really commonly used medicine, to lower blood pressure, this will make the pressure shoot way higher, which can be incredibly dangerous.
If one of your depressed friends suddenly starts acting really happy or peaceful, don't leave them alone. When suicidal people have a plan and are about to kill themselves, it can make them feel relieved, which can make it look like their depression is getting better.
Oh yeah, this one is definitely true given how mental illnesses aren't being mentioned much in this thread. It's some disturbing stuff how all of a sudden this person you've known to be full of turmoil all of a sudden just goes down to zero. Same sort of vibe as when the calm one in the room starts panicking. That's how you know something's wrong. Very, very wrong.
Especially if they become overly generous, such as giving things away or wanting to treat friends to dinner/drinks in an excessive way that is not usual for them. They're likely distributing what they have to those they love before leaving. The symptoms of a heart attack are slightly different for men and women. This is one of the reasons women sometimes get diagnosed too late. Men: cold sweat/nausea, chest pressure/pain, shortness of breath, pain in arms, back, neck, jaws, stomach. Women: fainting/extreme fatigue, chest pressure, shortness of breath, upper back pressure, lightheadedness/dizziness, pain in arms, back, neck, jaws, stomach.
My cousin had a couple in October and her chief complaint was the feeling of heartburn and peps and wasn't putting a dent in it. Pretty sure she had the jaw pain too, so they were so weirded out they went to the ER. Glad she did. She had a second a couple weeks later. She's fine now and had her birthday last month.
If someone shouts take cover, don't ask why. Get the F down.
Do you find somewhere to hide or do you immediately take cover? Also, how would be the best way to take cover? What position is the most effective?
Best thing to do in open when you don't know where is it coming from is to just get on the ground. If you can get behind or underneath something solid meaning brick, concrete or metal etc., thin wood or plastic will do nothing to stop large flying objects or high-speed shrapnel, then that's the best option. But time is likely very limited and you're better off being on the ground as opposed to still running away. If you don't have time to move to cover, then the best way to protect yourself is to get on your knees with your legs slightly apart. Bend over so your torso is between your legs and your head is as low to the floor as possible, and wrap your arms over your head. This will minimize your cross-section, limiting the area for things to hit you, and puts your limbs in the way of your most vital organs. Damaged legs and arms are easier to fix than damaged lungs or brains. Someone who is choking makes no noise. Coughing/gagging is a good sign, they can move air. Silence means their airway is fully blocked, and you have to step in and help. People who are choking for real are often so panicked they don't even think to give the I'm choking sign, they just kind of sit there looking terrified. You have to recognize that and act. The Heimlich is really easy to learn. It takes quite a bit of force, not something to wuss out on. I pull hard enough to lift feet off the ground.
If someone is coughing, they are doing the best thing they can do. Don't Heimlich someone who is coughing.
Restraining someone who is having a seizure or fit does more damage than you think. Instead, clear the area and place a pillow or something soft behind their head, only if possible, to stop them hurting themselves.
100%. In a similar vein, putting something in their mouths to prevent them from swallowing their own tongue just increases their chance of asphyxiating.
I've honestly never heard of someone swallowing their own tongue, and I worked the medical ward of a prison for several years. From what I've heard, I'm not sure it's actually possible for your tongue to go down your throat without first severing the fleshy connector underneath it. Addiction creeps up on you. When you can quit, you won't want to. When you want to quit, you won't be able to. No addict ever sees it coming. Not even in hindsight. No one can say that. That was it, that was the moment I became an addict and lost control. They just kept breaking the "I'll never do X for drugs" promise we all make to ourselves. We just keep pushing that line. I'll never take out a cash advance for drugs. Until I did. I'll never take a payday loan for drugs. Until I did. I'll never borrow money from my 401k for drugs. Until I did. I'll never straight up clear out my retirement account for drugs. Until I did. I'll never take money from my child's savings account. You guessed it. Until I absolutely did. And it keeps going. And eventually, you're no longer in control. You're driving across town, tears streaming down your face while you scream at yourself to stop, turn around and get help. But you won't. You'll keep driving, meet the plug to trade more cash that isn't yours for a substance that will ultimately lead to you either incarcerated, institutionalized, or dead. This sneaky disease is telling someone who is reading these words, "That's not you, don't worry." It's telling you it won't be you, that you're in control, that only weak-willed, pathetic people who have no sense of when things are getting bad will get themselves into this trouble. That's the person I'm talking to right now, because you're me before I lost complete control of my life.
Everyone needs to see this.
If you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up button below. And why not, you could also go ahead and subscribe too. Feel free to share down in the comments section some life-saving tips that didn't make it to the video. Bye. Have a great day, or night, my fellow insomnians.